Welcome to News 9 and you're watching On Point. Today we have 3 On Points. In the first On Point, we look at Trump's tariff threat on BRICS nations. In the second On Point, we look at China's malicious smear campaign against French Rafale jets after Operation Sindoor. In the third On Point, we look at Marathi Hindi row that has exploded in Maharashtra. And now let's take a quick look at the headlines. ADMK General Secretary Edapadi Palaniswamy launches party campaign for 2026 Assembly elections. Supreme Court to hear opposition pleas challenging Bihar electoral roll revision on 10th July. Tahabur Rana admits that he was Pakistan Army's most trusted agent in 26/11 terror attack. Delhi High Court rejects plea by Turkey-based Shalabi Aviation challenging centre's revocation of security clearance. Jagdeep Dhankar flags cash haul from HC judge in Kochi, questions delay in action. Kenya police fire at anti-government protesters in Nairobi, 1 dead, several injured. Bangladesh tribunal to decide on charges against Sheikh Hasina on July 10th. UAE's golden visa now up for grabs, lifetime residency for rupees 23 lakhs. Poland imposes checks on German and Lithuanian borders amid migration fears. Trump has given a different dimension to the tariff war. First he targeted countries and now he's all set to target a multilateral forum. The real issue is the threat of de-dollarisation of the global economy. But what makes it important is that India is part of that multilateral forum and its name is BRICS. Trump announced his intention on social media platform Truth Social. Any country aligning with themselves with the anti-American policies of BRICS will be charged an additional 10% tariff. There will be no exception to this policy. That's Donald Trump. Trump added that between 10 and 15 letters would be sent to countries advising them on what the new tariff rate will be if a deal had not been reached. This may happen on Monday evening or Tuesday morning. A deadline for countries to agree a tariff deal with the US has been set for 9th July, but the US Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick clarified that the taxes will come into force on 1st August. Trump's remarks comes just hours after BRICS leaders released the Rio Declaration.
It's going to be tariffs, the tariffs are going to be the tariffs. I think we'll have most countries done by July 9th, yeah. Either a letter or a deal.
But they go into effect on August 1st. Tariffs go into effect August 1st, but the president is setting the rates and the deals right now.
So basically Trump is saying that he is going to impose taxes. Now the BRICS has responded to Trump. The BRICS says we voiced our serious concerns with the unilateral imposition of trade and finance related actions, including the raising of tariffs and non-tariff measures which distort trade and are inconsistent with WTO rules. On this issue, I am joined by Ambassador Jen Dasgupta and Ambassador Manju Seth. Thank you both of you. Let me straight away go to Ambassador Dasgupta. Sir, what is the reason that the Trump is now saying that the BRICS nation should be targeted and they should end up paying 10% extra tariffs.
One of the major reasons for President Trump's statement is his feeling that BRICS will ultimately come around to de-dollarization, which is a BRICS currency, substitute currency for the dollar. Of course, I think what is happening is not de-dollarization in the sense of a BRICS currency, but countries are increasingly, BRICS members, are increasingly trading in their own national currencies. In fact, President Putin, in a statement which he sent to the BRICS summit, also very strongly endorsed this viewpoint that countries should increasingly trade in their own national currencies. China has already started doing it in respect of Russia and Brazil. India is trying to introduce it in respect of the UAE to start with. And of course, the rupee-ruble trade has been in existence for quite some time now. So this is a thing which shows the path towards the future. Whether President Trump likes it or not is another issue. So this is one of the reasons why he has said that countries aligning with an anti-American BRICS will have to pay the price in terms of 10% additional tariffs. But President Trump keeps, just like pulling out a handkerchief from his pocket, he keeps issuing these threats of additional tariffs. So I don't know where it will stop really. On the other hand, you have Senator Lindsey Graham. He has tabled a private member's bill, which says that any country trading with Russia will be subjected to 500% tariffs. So, it is all very uncertain, and this is going to impact trade flows and, future planning for countries, for exporters. And that is why the BRICS has also incorporated it in its statement, joint communique, that these tariff and non-tariff measures, unilateral, which has been highlighted, have the impact of distorting trade and creating, a lot of adverse effects.
Okay. Trump has long criticized BRICS, an organization whose members include India, Brazil, Russia and China, which was designed to boost countries' international standing and challenge the US and Western Europe's economic hegemony. Now, Trump threatened 100% tariffs if BRIC nations created a new currency. Trump declared that the BRICS is dead and threatened 100% tariffs if BRICS nation played games with the dollar. Trump claimed that the BRICS nation had broken up due to his threat of 150% tariff. These are the claims. With just hours left before the 90-day suspension on reciprocal tariff ends, the fate of an India-US interim trade agreement hinges on Washington's response. India has outlined its red lines, especially in the agriculture and dairy sector. India is firm on not opening up dairy and agriculture sector. The baseline 10% American tariff continues to be effective. India seeks complete relief from supplementary 26% duty. US wants duty reductions on automobiles, EVs, wines and petrochemical items. India is eyeing lower tariff on apparel, textiles, gems and jewelry. India wants relief and 25-50% tariffs on steel, aluminium and automobile. China also responded to the US threat.
刚刚我已经介绍了我们对金砖机制的一个看法。我们觉得金砖机制是国际上的一个积极力量。金砖合作是开放包容的，不针对任何国家。那么至于关税，我们一贯反对搞关税战、贸易战，反对以关税作为胁迫、施压的工具。肆意的加征关税不符合任何一方的利益。
Now let me straight away go to Ambassador Manju Seth. Madam, my question is, do you think will India have a trade deal eventually with America? With two things happening, madam, simultaneously. The deadline, which starts from 9:30 p.m. India time, till whenever those letters are released, and this additional threat made by Trump on the BRICS forum. Madam.
I think the India-US deal appears to already have been, finalized, almost finalized, and our red lines have been made very clear to the US, and I think they. Sorry, I'm so sorry. But I think it has been made clear to them that these are the red lines. As you very rightly said, agriculture is something which we cannot open up, and we've been saying that right from the beginning. On other items, I think what will eventually this mini trade deal is finally, agreed to both by the highest level, at the political level. It will be, I think, mutually beneficial. And I think that is what all trade deals are about. But President Trump's approach of this unilateralism and this threatening action, I think, is something which has upended all the rules-based systems, and including the WTO, of which the US was one of the main leaders up till a short while ago, and they were quite intent on imposing and implementing a rules-based order, including a rules-based trading system, etc. And now with President Trump coming in, it's all quite, of course, make America great again, yes, but it's also going to affect the American economy, the way he's going about it and pushing, around. And I think, I also believe that the whole system that he, and the whole tariff structure that he is talking about doesn't appear to be based on a real understanding, on the real calculations of the whole, trade deficit or trade imbalances, etc. So I think that is something which we need to, convey to them, to communicate. And I think that would have been done in our bilateral talks. And I think they do understand it, but I think with Trump, the way his thinking or his approach is all transactional. So he says, what's in it for me on anything? I think me meaning for America also. So he may not change, but we have to wait and see. And at the same time, India has gone ahead into this negotiations with complete consultation at all levels, in the industry. And I, from what I can make out, that it is not a huge segment which will be impacted by these tariffs, or a huge amount that will be impacted by the tariffs. But yes, the smaller MSMEs, the smaller companies will be impacted if the trade deal is one-sided.
Ambassador said, do you think that the negotiations with the United States of America on trade can impact our larger relationship, which is strategic, social, educational, cultural?
I believe that it will impact to some extent, given how President Trump approaches all relationships, all bilateral relationships. But I hope it will not be, because those are very deeply, so at the moment, it's deeply entrenched, and they're very strong relationships at the strategic level, which are also in the U.S. interest, the education, the education exchange, and all. And I think the U.S. President will, I think, maybe, because he's been stepping back. He's been announcing and then he's stepping back. Each time, if you see right from the beginning, he announces, then he steps back. Even now, he said from the 9th it will be imposed, but now it's 1st August. So I think he's also understanding that it's going to not be a very easy situation for the US and for the US companies. They will be impacted. But we can only expect and hope that it will be something which President Trump understands, and the final decision will be taken on the basis of a rules-based system and on mutual benefit.
Ambassador Dasgupta, why is Trump convinced of the efficacy of tariff that can fuel US growth? And when did, sir, globalization and growth, the larger concept, got delinked in America, and the tariff growth and profits have come together?
One of the things which has changed in the US's perception, especially the US administration's perception over the past decade or so, is that the US has become, and it started, I think, with the first Trump presidency, the US has turned inwards. It has become protectionist, it has become inward-looking, and of course, it woke up very late to the fact that the industrial base of the US has been hollowed out, that the US is no longer a manufacturing giant in terms of the middle technology segment. It is only high technology and services where the US still holds sway. So a large number of Americans are not employed gainfully. The wage levels have not really risen very much in keeping with the rates of inflation. So there are macroeconomic issues which have been confronting the US. But the US, especially under President Trump, has started blaming the other trading partners for its problems. One of them is the huge burgeoning trade deficit. Now, if you have a policy of importing and financing the consumers and the other financial actors with bank loans at low rates, and you decide that for instance this new big beautiful bill, now an act that itself speaks of 3.5 trillion or 4 trillion of additional national debt. Now, when you have run such a huge amount of debt, obviously, your trade surplus will not be there. It will be a trade deficit. So that will also contribute to this, the national debt. So that is the kind of thing which is going to be a part of the situation which the US is trying to tackle with a very crude and blunt instrument of tariffs, without really, focusing on its core areas of excellence, which is high tech, which is, about
Doctor,
all kinds of,
Ambassador Jandas Gupta, my question to you is that how difficult is, from the India's perspective, this balancing act? We are not part of the camps. When we are in BRICS, we have a China with which we have an adversarial relationship. Jaishankar has spoken about strategic response, and he's very clearly said the Ukraine is not India's war, and Europe's war is not the our war. So how difficult it is from the Indian perspective when the world has polarized. All Americans and the Russians and Chinese are trying to polarize the world into two camps, and we have taken a position that India is going to engage with countries on its own term. How big is this challenge?
It is indeed a very big challenge, but we have been talking of strategic autonomy for ages, and only now Europe has taken up this refrain, and it has also started. Many of the countries in Western Europe have started saying strategic autonomy is what the Europeans should also practice. So it is not going to be an easy task, but we have, laid out a few ground rules. For instance, in the Israel-Hamas, Israel-Iran conflict, we have not taken sides, but we have consistently, since 1948, we have been saying that we support this two-nation resolution of the UN. So, you have to fix a few markers on the ground, and then you have to negotiate, because it is going to be a very stormy affair, choppy seas through which you have to navigate. But as long as your moral moorings are there, and of course, national interest will be paramount. So on many occasions, even though morally something may be entirely wrong, you may not come out and very strongly oppose it or criticize it.
Okay.
That is exactly what has taken place in the BRICS communique also.
Okay, before I close, Ambassador Seth, your views on it?
Absolutely. I think it is going to be a balancing act for India. And I think that we have so far, I think we have managed to navigate this tightrope walk, so to speak. And we have been able to convey that, yes, on the one hand, because, the thing is we have good bilateral relations with each of these countries. And the fact is that Ukraine, even with Ukraine, even with Russia, and in the Middle East, with Israel, with the Palestinians, and we've always supported a kind of two-state, solution. But that somehow doesn't seem to be acceptable. Initially, in the middle, I think there was some talk that there would be a few years ago that both sides would work it out. But I think at that time, what happened was that while Israel was ready to go ahead, the Palestinians were not, because what was being offered, I think, was not okay. There were some differences. But now, the way the situation has evolved, India has no option but to hedge its bets, so to speak, and to also take a very principled stand without taking sides, but keeping its own interest in view.
I think my understanding is that at least the good part is that Trump is not like leaders forever. Like we will have to deal with Putin for a long time, Xi Jinping for a long time. At least Trump gets to retire after 3 years. Thank you both of you for joining me on the first On Point. It remains an Indian challenge to tackle with an unpredictable US president. In the second On Point, we'll look at how Beijing ran a malicious campaign against French-made Rafale fighter jets, but after a short break.
देखो इधर, ये छतरी भी है।
एक मिनट
क्या हुआ?
अभी से इतना खर्चा करो।